boys and girls. It's time for another Thorytime. We're at the next chapter of Congress Wolf. Of course, I'm your narrator, Ian. Let's get to it. This chapter is called Media Hound. You've got half an extra large black coffee left in your cup, and you can tell that it's not going to be enough to get you through this meeting. It's the weekly leadership confab where all the department heads sit down or phone in the case of the Sandy, the field director, and who's always on the road, and some sort of good pennies district that you've never heard of, and go over their progress since last week and their goals for the upcoming week. At the best of times, it can be a bit dull, but so far this week, it's been a hit parade of bad news. Between the headache starting behind your left eye and the late night you pulled last night, going over the budget, it's all you can do to keep your eyes open. Soon, Lee, the finance director, is speaking. Last month we raised $35,000, she says, clicking through the next slide on her presentation, which gives us a total of $40,000 on hand. You know these numbers already. They were a spot of bright light in what's lately been a gloomy campaign. Even if they did keep you up late calculating and recalculating, you managed to hit all your spending priorities, laying a strong foundation for the campaign. You look down at the spreadsheet already open on your tablet, thinking about the best way to spend the money you've raised. Cash on hand, $40,000. Current budget, $45,000. Budget deficit, negative $5,000. I want to work on my finance spending. I want to work on my field spending. And I also want to work on my polling budget. What is the most important at this time? I mean, we've got volunteers, right? So that's not a concern. And they're on the field as well. So the only thing you have to really worry about is, along the lines of money, focus on ad revenue, which is very important. Exposure, exposure, exposure. Especially now. There's a bunch of hot button topics. The top of it, the lycanthrope bill. Very important. It is an election year after all. Let's worry about finance. Soon we would probably prefer if raising money were all the campaign did with none of the pesky spending. We're at a budget deficit of negative $5,000, fundraising budget. I mean, the whole reason why I brought in Soon Lee was because of the digital. There's no way to back up. Boys and girls. Tell you what, you have my permission to tell me how you would have handled this situation, and I'll kick myself either way. Okay, cash on hand, $40,000. Current budget, $45,000. Budget deficit. Let's see here. Let's look to polling. Without good polling, you have no way of knowing whether anything you're doing to re-elect Goodpenny is effective. Keeping your finger on the pulse of the voting public can be invaluable. Skip the polls. I'll wait for the only poll that counts, the one on election day. You know what? We'll do that. Because a lot of stuff can happen right before an election, which can completely flip things in or out of our favor. I've seen this time and time again growing up. So we'll do that. We'll skip the polls. Information is valuable, but maybe not as valuable as some other things you could use the money for. Now the budget it goes. Cash on hand, current budget, left to spend. What? Let's work on field spending. Let's see what we got. Spending money on field programs means more contact with voters, improving Goodpenny's chance of persuading them to vote for her. Plus, it keeps Sandy from yelling at you, which is a benefit all by itself. Cancel the precinct campaign program. Recruit volunteers in the positions we can't afford to pay people for. Army volunteers can fill the cracks of what your staff can't do and even shore up some of the things they can. The budget total ticks higher, but so do your chances of persuading people to vote for Goodpenny. Got $5 grand left. We'll cancel the precinct captain program. They're volunteers after all. Whew! Okay. Losing your precinct captains means less contact with voters, which means fewer chances. You cross the program off the list and start thinking about how to make up for it elsewhere. Oh, sir, I've done this song in it. Okay, alright, let's cancel it out. Okay, without volunteers, your staff will have to tutor some tests that they'd perform, and some things are going to wind up falling through the cracks. Still, a few more dollars in the budget will at least give you a way to paper over the cracks. Alright. We've already done this, so done with the field budget. Cash on hand, $40,000. Current budget, $20,000. Left to spend, $20,000. Let's look this back over, boys and girls, just real quick, okay? So I've got my numbers right. Rent a list of big money donors to cozy up for cash. That takes care of all 20,000 right there. That's the big money people. Okay. Let's just look at polling again. Let's look at the options. Sorry about that. Field again. Yeah, okay. I'm done with budget. I can't wait to hear what Soon has to say about this. Next up is Ashanti, your communications director, with the latest results from your pollster. All right, most of you have seen the poll book already, Ashanti says. It ain't pretty. She pulls up her first slide. The top line is 42% Good Penny to 45% normal, with 13% of the voters undecided, which is, you try to do the math with your under-caffeinated brain, a lot worse than you were doing last month. Whatever rallying effect might have drawn the voters to Good Penny after Maggie's death, it's dissipated now, and Good Penny's comfortable lead is dissipating with it. Ashanti clicks the next slide. Ashanti wraps up her presentation with a set of suggested action items you've already vetted, as well as a call to action. We've had a few wake-up calls in this meeting. We've still got time to turn this around, but that time is running out. You look around the room, taking in the glum faces, the fidgeting, the shifting eyes. At last, someone speaks up. What are we going to do about all this? The discontent in the conference room is growing. You've got to do something to put this meeting, not to mention this campaign, back on track. I need to take charge and bring the rest of them in line. I need to remind them who we're doing this for, the people of Good Penny's district. I need to sell them on the idea that we're going to get through this and make a comeback. Okay. If I just take the reins, I mean, then I'm doing what a leader's supposed to do. I mean, I'm behind the desk. I'm the one with the big red phone. If I go for more of the, Disney sports vibe, it could get people up and running, but they're going to be in too high spirits, and if this crashes and burns, if I do the spin doctor thing, I might lose a few, but those that do stay on will have more faith in me. Time to showcase my doctorate in tornadoes. Let's spin. Alright. You sit back in your chair, steepling your fingers together in front of your face. So, you say, looking off into the distance, we've heard a load of bad news today, haven't we? A couple of people chuckle nervously, but no one says anything. You sit straight up again, looking around the table, making sure to meet everyone's eyes squarely. Eye contact projects sincerity. You remember one of your college professors intoning. I'll tell you what we're going to do about it, you say. You give it a long beat, making them wait for it before speaking again. We're going to pick ourselves up off the ground, dust ourselves off, and get back in the game. Because this isn't the last bad news we're going to hear this campaign. I can promise you that. Normal just showed that he can give us a fight. But I'll promise you this too. If we stick together, if we all give it our best, we can take him. Tentative smiles on a few faces. The staff are looking around the table, looking at each other, just like you'd hope they would. Seeing themselves as a team. You just hope you can make good on that bill of lading you just sold them. You let them dwell in the moment for a second, then clap your hands together in a dusting off motion. Okay, what's next? Before the meeting can resume, you're interrupted by applause as Good Penny walks around the corner and into the alcove you've dubbed the conference room. Startled, you check your phone for the time. Good Penny wasn't supposed to show up to headquarters for another 45 minutes. At least that little speech of yours went over well. Good Penny is smiling, and as she comes around the conference room table to join you, she catches your eye and gives you a thumbs up. Well said, Mr. Torchetti, Good Penny says. I'd almost think you were a born preacher to hear a sermon like that. Her eyes crinkle with amusement as she turns to address the rest of the staff. But I'm not here to blow hot air at all of you. Ian, I believe we're supposed to be talking newspaper endorsements today. You wrap up the meeting quickly, early or not. Goodpenny's schedule takes precedence over yours, and lead Goodpenny into the office, shutting the door behind you. So, you say by way of introduction, the Star. Biggest paper in town, Goodpenny says. People listen to what they have to say. Didn't endorse me last time. Nope. My husband bet me $5 they won't this time around either. The two of you share a tight smile, then Goodpenny sighs. So what are we going to do to make sure he loses that bet? Okay, don't worry. I know exactly what they want to hear, and we'll tell them. We'll emphasize the issues we agree with them on, and lay out strong arguments for our disagreements. Let's go in there and talk about your most popular positions. Point out that the average voter is on your side. Don't pander to them. You need to have courage of your convictions. You need to have the courage of your convictions. These are some things to think about, boys and girls. So how about we end it here? And I want you to please, please, please join me. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell to stay notified, and click the Twitter link to join in the poll. Are we not going to worry? Will we emphasize the issues? Will we bring up the popular positions? Or are we not going to pander? So until next time, I'm your narrator, Ian. And it's been another Thorytime Thursday. Hope you enjoyed the story so far. Now tuck in, and I'll see you next chapter.